friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the top 10 fantasy books that I want to read. So this is going to be a little bit long, so I'm sorry. I'm not going to give synopses for every one of these books because some of them are sequels, so would not want to spoil the book for you. But I will give a short synopsis of the first book, so if you're interested then you can read the first book and continue on. So let's just get right into it. So the first fantasy book that I want to read is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. So this is the sequel to Strange the Dreamer, which follows our main character Laszlo Strange as he goes on a quest to find the lost city of Weep. Now, I really loved this first book. It was very atmospheric. It was very high fantasy. So if you're not super into high fantasy, would not suggest these books, but I adore high fantasy. I'm currently writing a high fantasy novel, and I am so excited to get stuck into this novel and see what happens, because if you've read Strange the Dreamer, you'll know it ends on a pretty hefty cliffhanger. The next fantasy book that I want to get to is Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. I was about to say Laini Taylor again. So this book is the third book in the Grisha trilogy, and it follows our main character Alina Starkov, who finds out that she has powers that she never knew about. So I read the second book in October and I absolutely friggin' loved it. And again, that one left on a pretty big cliffhanger, so I'm really excited to get into this one. I think I bought the audiobook of this because the audiobook for Siege and Storm was great. So I'm super excited to get to this one too. The next fantasy book that I would like to read is One Dark Throne by Kendare Blake. So this is the sequel to Three Dark Crowns, which follows three of our main characters as they fight to the death to try and become queen of their little island. So I was not sure if I was going to like Three Dark Crowns, but I actually really loved it. So I'm really excited because apparently this one is even better, and it's like dark and delicious. So I'm really excited to read this one because I am a super huge fan of like dark high fantasies that follow like royalty and political intrigue. So I'm really excited to get into this one. The next fantasy book that I would like to read is In an Absent Dream by Seanan McGuire. So this book here is a really short book. It is the fourth, I don't know how to count. It is the fourth novella in the series of Every Heart a Doorway. So these are all very whimsical high fantasies that follow children as they find doorways into different worlds. And so it's kind of like almost magical realism, and it kind of tackles like issues predominant in society today. So it's kind of like taking on like a social justice aspect of fantasy, which I really enjoy actually. And this one in particular, it follows a storyline with goblins and goblin markets. So I'm super excited to read this. I am so happy that I got an arc of it. So thank you so much to Raincoast Books for sending this to me. The next fantasy book that I would like to read is one that you won't be surprised is on this list, and it is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. So these are kind of like companion novels to the Grisha trilogy, and I know I've taken so long to finally read these, but I wanted to finish the Grisha trilogy before I read these because apparently it has a lot of lore about that kind of world because it's set in the same world, but after all of the events of the Grisha trilogy, I think. So I didn't want to like potentially spoil myself for those books by reading these books. I surprisingly have stayed pretty ignorant about these books. All I know is that it follows a bunch of different characters as they go on like a heist, I'm pretty sure, and I really don't want to know much more about these because I feel like it's kind of one of those fantasies that you really have to just not know anything going into it. The next book that I want to read is kind of like, it's like a hybrid. It's a sci-fi fantasy, but I didn't really know what else to put on here because there's no other ones that are like super pressing, but that is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is one again that I unfortunately don't know too much about. All I know is that it follows renegades, which are kind of essentially prodigies or like androids. All I know is that Emma Books really likes this book. I think the sequel just came out like a couple of days ago, Arch Enemies, and like who doesn't love a super epic cover like this? The next fantasy book that I would like to read is Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. So this is essentially a journey novel based off of Viking mythology, and I know that I have been craving some Vikings in my fantasy novels. In the summer was really into Skyrim, and I think that's what sort of like lighted the fire within me about wanting something with Vikings in it. And this one I think came out in the winter of last year. The cover is absolutely gorgeous. This is great to take pictures of, by the way. It follows our main character Elin as she's raised to be a warrior, and she has to deal with her brother's betrayal, I'm pretty sure. And so she has to survive the winter in the mountains, and it just sounds like a really cool concept that I'm really super excited about. I personally love journey novels. I have read a couple of journey novels that have stayed my favorite throughout the years, and so I'm really hopeful that I will like this because, again, I have been craving some Vikings. The 8th fantasy book that I would like to read is These Rebel Waves by Sarah Rash. So this is a 3, I believe, POV novel that follows pirates. And again, like the Viking novel, I've been really craving some pirate action, and apparently this has gays in it, so that's all I really need to know about it. I don't know too much about this, but gays and pirates, sign me the F up. So the next 2 books are going to be adult fantasies. All of these ones have been young adult, barring the novella. But this next one that I want to read is something that has been on my TBR for so long, and I have never gone out and taken the plunge to buy it because adult paperbacks are really expensive. But I actually got a gift card and was able to pick this one up. So the next fantasy book that I would like to read is Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. So this novel is about our main character, Yelena, who is going to be executed for murder, and she gets offered a position where she will eat all of the best meals, have all of the best accommodations, but because she's rooming next to Commander Ixia, she risks assassination. So it kind of goes through her life through that. This apparently has a lot of political intrigue, which is what I am, again, super here for in fantasy novels. The final fantasy book that I would like to read is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. So I don't know too much about this book, but I know that a lot of my friends really like it. It is a Russian folklore, I do believe, and it follows our main character Vasilisa. Her father gets, I do believe, murdered, and so she lives with her stepmother, and her stepmother gets more and more evil as the novel progresses, and so she has to call for powers that she didn't know she had in order to escape that and in order to make a better life for herself. I am a super huge fan of Russian folklore. It's part of the reason why I like the Grisha trilogy, because I know that that was based in Russian folklore. So yeah, I am really excited to read this. It sounds like it's very whimsical. It sounds like it's something that's going to be perfect for winter as well. So I might hunker down and read this next month. All right, and there you have it. There are the 10 fantasy books that I would like to read. These are obviously ones that I either am really anticipating or really need to get off my TBR. Are there any fantasy books in here that are your favorites, or are there any that you have either never heard of or really want to read? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. All of my social media links will be down in the description box below, and I will see you again soon for the next video. Bye!